I'm Brad Coulter, and this is Looking Back. Gene Worley was born May 15, 1933 in Connersville to Justice and Mabel Ball Worley. Justice was born in California and made his way to Connersville after serving in France in World War I. He served as a Connersville firefighter beginning in 1922 and worked for the city at the wastewater plant under the Glenn Henderson administration. Gene's mother was the granddaughter of George Washington Ball of the Mount Zion area in Jackson Township. The area they lived in was then called Balltown. Gene said he remembered their old cabin. Gene's 3 times great-grandfather was Robert Hood, and he was a veteran of the War of 1812. He even named his oldest son after Andy Jackson. The Hoods were some of Indiana's first settlers. Robert Hood lived to be 98 years old and is buried in Knolltown Cemetery. Longevity ran in the family as his daughter, Mrs. George Washington Ball, lived to be 95 years at her death in 1923, and many family members lived into their 90s. Gene's mother, Mabel, even lived to be 100 years old. She had operated a neighborhood grocery in the 30th Street area. When Gene was in high school, he knew his number was coming up to be drafted during the Korean War, even though it was winding down, so he enlisted. He was in the United States Air Force. He was drawn to the effort as he had lost his best friend and cousin, Jackie Worley, just 3 months before. He felt he should do his part. He signed up for gunnery school, but because the conflict was ending, he was sent to become a flight engineer. He was trained at Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. He spent some time on KC-97s in Florida and eventually ended up on the southern tip of Greenland. Bluey West 1 was an important refueling stop and a link on the way to Europe and North Africa during World War II, and continued during Gene's service time until 1958 when it ceased operation. The horrible Arctic climate there was challenging, and tugboats would periodically pull icebergs out of the bay near the runways. His time there was spent on classified submarine warfare with the Russians, and they were constantly tracking Soviet positions. He once was even called on to help track sleigh sightings from the North Pole at Christmas time. He said that his time in the service made all things possible for him. He learned to take and give orders and get along with others. At the end of 4 years' service, Gene came home and shortly went to work for Public Service Indiana, where he spent 37 years as a lineman. It wasn't long before Gene was back in the air. He got his pilot's license in the 70s and was a flight instructor for the Connersville Airport. His real calling was his time on the Board of Aviation for the city of Connersville, and he was incredibly involved with many improvements there. Working with former Congressman Lee Hamilton, the airport was given funding for a sophisticated instrument landing system, ILS. Later, when Gene was president of the board, over 1,500 feet of runway extensions and taxiways, also new hangars were added. Gene served as board president for over 25 years and was considered the foremost authority and advocate for Meadow Field. Gene died in May of 2021, and a celebration of his life was held at the airport just like he wanted it. He is greatly missed in the community.